Human body is a wonderful machine. It is a complicated structure than it appears. Different life process in living organisms like respiration, digestion, blood circulation, excretion, nervous system, etc. are inbuilt in our body at their specific places and carry out their specific functions in a coordinated manner. Which system do you think would send the signals to make us realize that we are hungry? A major cause for feeling hungry lies in the physiology of blood circulation. Levels of different substances are generally maintained in the blood mainly by our digestive system. One of the major substances is glucose. When its levels in the blood fall, we get hunger pangs in stomach. This again involves production of a series of proteins, some of which are hormones like ghrelin. Secretion of the hormone ghrelin in the stomach when it gets empty. Ghrelin is secreted from certain cells in the wall of the stomach. Hunger contractions start to occur in the stomach due to hunger generating signals that reach the brain from the stomach due to the secretion of this hormone. It is believed that the diencephalon in forebrain, the vagus nerve, that means 10th cranial nerve, plays an important role in carrying these signals to the brain. Hunger pangs continue up to 30 to 45 minutes. Increase in ghrelin levels results in sensation of hunger and motivation to consume food. We find that different organ systems are involved in the digestive process. Let us find more about how the organ systems are involved. Feeling hungry leads us to consume food. Sometimes you may have often experienced that stale food is outrightly rejected even before intake. Taste and smell are intimately entwined. This close relationship is most apparent in how we perceive the flavors of food. Anyone with a severe cough and cold cannot make out the difference in taste of certain food items. Actually, what is really being offered, that means affected, is the flavor of the food or the combination of taste and smell. That is because only the taste, not the food odors, are being detected. Taste itself is focused on distinguishing chemicals that have a sweet, salty, sour, bitter, or umami taste. Umami is Japanese for savory. However, interactions between the senses of taste and smell enhance our perceptions of the foods we eat. On the tongue, you have also learnt about different types of papillae, that means the taste buds on the tongue for different taste in lower classes. Let us recall them. Only after the dissolved food enters into the cup like taste buds, the sense of taste is carried to the brain for analysis. Then only we will know the taste of the food material. When we smell, the airborne substances get dissolved in the watery film of nasal mucus. The chemoreceptors in nose are otherwise called olfactory receptors, which trigger signals in the form of nerve impulses to the brain where smell is detected. Similarly, as we take food into our mouth, the taste buds sends signals to the brain, picking up the slight differences in smell. The food taste are identified in our brain. Sometimes mouth starts watering just by hearing the name like tamarind or lime or mango. Now let us summarize the result of the activities with the help of your answers. In general, we perfect the food material which is attractive to our eyes and flare to nose, then we taste it. Therefore, when we eat without our knowledge, we use our sight, nose, and tongue for selecting food for ingestion. A Russian scientist Pavlov has conducted experiments and found that even the thought of food will water your mouth conditions reflexes. You have discussed about Pavlov experiment in the lower classes animal behavior. Taste is something connected to the tongue and the palate. Let us do a simple activity to see the role of different parts of the mouth in helping us to taste. Sugar crystals over the tongue. Place some sugar crystals on your tongue. Keep your mouth open and see that your tongue does not touch the palate. Record the time from the moment you placed the crystals on your tongue till you got the taste by using stopwatch. Now repeat the test by placing the sugar crystals on the tongue and pressing it against the palate. The time from placing sugar crystals on the crystals to getting the taste, or put a drop of sugar solution on your tongue using a dropper. Can we taste on dry tongue? Which way helped you taste faster? Why? When the tongue is pressed against the palate, as we know, the tongue is sensory in function and contains taste buds. These taste buds are tiny papillae with an opening on top. Within them, there are several taste sensitive cells. Any food substance, when placed on the tongue, gets dissolved in the saliva secreted by salivary glands in the mouth. When the tongue is pressed against the palate, the food substance is pressed against the opening of the taste bud, letting it to reach the taste cells and triggering taste signals. Finally, the taste is recognized in the brain. Observe Observe the model or chart of jaw. How are the teeth arranged? Are all the teeth similar in shape and size? Is there any relation between shape and function of the teeth? Dental formula explains the arrangement of teeth on the basis of the figure. Try to guess what could be the function of molars. The circular muscles of the mouth enable the food to be pushed into the oral cavity and to be moved around. As the food cannot be swallowed directly, the teeth grind, chew, and shed it. This process is called mastication. For this purpose, the surface muscles of the jaw help in biting and chewing actions and move the jaw up, down, forward, and backward during food mastication. You may have observed your lower jaw moving up and down as you chew food. The teeth help in cutting and grinding while tongue movements evenly spread out the food and help in mixing it with the saliva. The muscles of the mouth enable the food to be pushed in the oral cavity and to be moved around. The fifth cranial nerve has been found to control the movement of muscles in the jaw. Testing pH of mouth at intervals of 1 hour. You can do this in your school by taking a small piece of the pH paper and touching it to your tongue. Match the color with the color chart and note the pH first. See to it that you are able to take some readings after having your food at lunch break. Compare your readings with that of your friend. Take at least 4 readings. You have to prepare your own table to record your observation. What is the usual range of pH of your mouth? Acid or base? Did you observe any change in pH after eating? What may have caused the change? In what kind of pH do you think celery amylase acts well? Do not hurry to complete the table, take your own time. pH beyond 7 is alkaline, pH below 7 is acid, pH 7 is neutral. Travel of food through esophagus. The esophagus receives the food pushed by the swallowing action of the mouth. What are the systems that come into play for swallowing food? The following, that means in the figure, shown in figure, schematic representation shows some functional and structural attributes of esophagus. Observe it and answer. Walls secrete mucus slimy substance. Long tube upper end connects to pharynx. Lower end connects to the stomach. Esophagus passes food to stomach by wave-like movement of walls that is called peristalsis. So it is muscular and elastic. Esophagus walls carry on wave like movement by contraction and relaxation. The walls of the food pipe secrete a slippery substance called mucus. Mucus lubricates and protects the esophageal walls from damage. This helps the food bolus to slide down easily, just as the oiled potatoes that moves in the tube. Besides this, the saliva in the bolus also aids in the easy movement of food which moves into the stomach. The wall of the esophagus is made up of two kinds of stomach muscles. They are smooth muscles. The inner layer consists of circular muscles and the outer layer of longitudinal muscles. Contraction of the circular muscles results in narrowing of the esophagus just behind the bolus. So the food is squeezed downwards. Contraction of the longitudinal muscle in front of the bolus widen the tube. This results in shortening of that particular part of the esophagus. Contraction and relaxation of these muscles bring in a valve-like motion that propels the food bolus into the stomach by the action called peristalsis. When the food is in the oral cavity, the nerves in the cheek and tongue are stimulated. These carry messages in the form of nerve impulse to the brain. These messages are transmitted from the brain to the wall of the stomach and stimulate the gastric glands to produce gastric juice. The walls of stomach secrete juice containing hydrochloric acid HCl. Most of us may have experienced as the process of digestion in the stomach nears completion. The contraction of the stomach decrease. What would be the reason? Peristalsis involves the contraction of the muscle behind the food and the relaxation of the muscle in front of the food, giving rise to a thrust that pushes the food forward through the digestive canal. A wave of contraction followed by relaxation in muscles helps in forward movement of food. In ruminants such as the cow, buffalo, etc., that have an extra pouch in the stomach to store quickly swallowed food, in human beings, it is mainly a protective mechanism to expel unwanted substances from the food canal. We observe that digestion of food starts from the mouth while the food passes through the gut. The food settles for some time for digestion at certain location. So food does not move uniformly through the digestive system. Our stomach is not like a bag with a specific volume. It is like a pouch which is elastic in nature. The size of the stomach increases based on the food that we intake. Digestive juices are produced depending on the quantity of food material. If the stomach would produce the same amount of digestive juices, irrespective of the food quantity, the walls of stomach would be destroyed. We also know that stomach secretes strong acids during digestion. The HCl secreted by the walls of stomach is strong enough to digest the hard bones as well. Then how is the stomach protected from the secretion of its own acids? By mucus. Travel of food from the stomach to the intestine. Now, food is a soap like mixture when it leaves the stomach and enters the small intestine. When the food enters the intestine, the acidic nature of the chyme initiates the production of hormones like secretin and cholecystokinin, which stimulate pancreas, liver, and walls of small intestine to secrete pancreatic juice, bile juice, and succus entericus. The absorption of nutrients by villi in the small intestine is a very selective process. The walls of the intestine allows only tiny nutrient particles to pass through. The inner surface of the small intestine contains thousands of finger-like projections called villi. These villi increase the surface area so that the food retained in the folds can remain longer, thereby enhancing absorption. The digestive tract is unique among internal organs because it is exposed to a large variety of physiochemical stimuli from the external world in the form of ingested food. As a consequence, the intestine has developed a rich store of coordinated movements of its muscular apparatus along with neural apparatus to ensure the appropriate mixing and propulsion of contents during digestion, absorption, and excretion. The neural apparatus of our digestive tract comprises of such a vast and complicated network of neurons that it has been nicknamed by scientists as the second brain. Expulsion of waste. Expulsion of waste via blood through the kidneys, skin, are mainly salts, water, and urea. Undigested food matter is expelled in the form of stool. Two major pathways of waste expulsion are very important. When the unwanted waste material, that means stools, reach the large intestine, the peristaltic waves move the stool into the rectum. The left side of the colon acts like a storage tank of feces. Water gets reabsorbed and the remaining waste, usually hot mass, gets stored in the last part, that means rectum of the large intestine. This smelly yellowish fecal mass, usually called as stool, is later expelled out of the body through the anus. There are two muscular layers helping the exit of stool, one that is under involuntary control and the other is under voluntary control. These muscular structures help in opening and closing of the closing of the aperture of the canal, which are called as anal sphincter.